Mr. Hayama started out as a veterinarian, has since become a researcher and animal rescuer. You can read more about him in our program, and I just learned recently in our exchanges that there's something called a specialty called mild animal medicine. So I wanted to ask, they have known each other for quite some time, so I wanted to ask Director Iwasaki how he got to know Mr. Hayama and how he got to involve him in this project.
葉山さんとはもうだいぶ前、30年前ぐらいですが、葉山さんの詳しいです。よろしくお願いします。
葉山です。Thank you for invitation. 私の先代の教授が先ほどご紹介があったキケザルの研究者で、その関係で、調査などで研究室に取材に来られたりして、でそこでお知り合いになりました。
It's the previous professor in the position I presently occupy who had been engaged in research on the monkeys with congenital abnormalities. And Mr. Iwasaki would come to his lab and to learn about this research, and that's how we first met, perhaps 30 years ago.
さらの話はこれから葉山先生からご紹介あると思います。久しぶりに僕はこのシリーズ2を見たんですが、長いですね。
We'll learn more about the monkeys soon from Professor Hayama. I hadn't seen episode 2 in a long time. It's long.
でも5作目は今度はもっと10分長い95分ですから覚悟しておいてください。
But I have to warn you that episode 5 is 10 minutes longer.
でも内容はだんだん濃くなりますから、見ていてためになると思います。
But the content has become more concentrated, so I hope that I think you will find it of use to watch, to look on.
シリーズ1にこの辺りまでは手探りもう何のあてもなく行って、知り合いになった人を撮影したりしたんですけども、3作目はこの企画で、小出弘明さん見えたんですか？
はい。
3作目では小出弘明さんに、僕は放射能には素人同然なので、インタビューしたりして伺いました。大変、優しく分かりやすく放射能ということを教えてもらいました。
For series 1 and 2, I was just grappling, going to interview people I already knew to try to figure out how to get started even. And for series 3, I understand that you have invited Mr. Hiroaki Koide, then of Kyoto University Reactor Research Institute. This was 2012, the one-year anniversary. I was just relating to Mr. Iwasaki that was on May 5th, which was a Children's Day. It was also the day that all reactors in Japan were stopped because mostly inspection. And it was the whole room burst out in cheers at the thought of this moment of a reactor-free Japan. He explained that because he was an amateur about radioactivity, he had interviewed Mr. Koide for episode 3, and that he explained in a way that was utterly clear to a layperson.
チャンスがあったら私のシリーズ3、4も見ていただければありがたいです。つまり英語バージョンを作ってしたんですけども、今回初めての公開です。 大変嬉しくありがたいと思います。ご招待いただいて感謝します。
I'm hoping if you have a chance, you'll be able to watch episodes 3 and 4. In fact, they are available for checkout at the Media Library of the Center for East Asian Studies, so keep that in mind. We have always made English language versions of these, but this is the first time for them to be screened here in the United States. And I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
シカゴの皆さんはハイレベルな方が多いですか？
I mean, lots of high-level people in Chicago. Don't know. As much and as little as anywhere, I suppose.
どうぞ、早尾さんに。
はい。早野さん、先ほどもお伺いしたんですけど、どうやってこの道にお入りになったのかお話ししていただけますか？ I wanted to have Mr. Hayama explain to us how he got started on this path to begin with.
それは獣医師になった理由ということですか？
そこからその先両方ですね。
いや動物は嫌いではないんですけど、獣医になろうと思ったことはあまりなくて、田舎に暮らしたいもんですから、牛の医者になろうと思ったのがきっかけです。
I didn't dislike animals, but I never intended to become a veterinarian. But I like living in rural places, so I thought I'd become a veterinarian for cows.
で、毎日3年間牛を触ってたら、牛のアレルギーになりまして、牛医者を諦めて野生動物の医者になりました。
He said after hanging out with cattle for 3 years, touching them, I developed an allergy to them. So I gave up on cattle and became a wild animal doctor.
最初はアザラシの研究から始まって、で当時はニホンザルも絶滅の恐れがあったんですが、さまざまな日本の絶滅危惧種の保護対策の研究をずっとやってきました。
Started with walruses, also worked on Japanese monkeys, a snow monkey, and snow monkeys were verging on extinction back then, and I began to work on many such Japanese animals faced with extinction, and tried also to work on conservation measures, protective measures for them. でずっとこの放射能汚染、被爆の猿を続けていらっしゃいます、研究続けていらっしゃいますけど、その意味もここでお話しくださいましたが、それは研究者としてどうなんでしょう、そういうつまり問題性っていうか、素人の私はやや、これは社会的に問題性があるんではないかと思って、葉山先生のことを心配になってしまうところもあるんですけど、いかがでしょう。I wanted to ask him, because this is a controversial topic, right? I mean, it's controversial to say that there are any possible problems continuing in Japan. I can't help wondering what it's like for him as a professional scientist of wild animals to work on what seems to me to be a controversial topic.
今、ニホンザルはだいぶ回復をしてきて、ただ逆に畑の荒らす被害が年間十数億円毎年出てるんですけど、そのせいで、年間2万頭から2万5,000頭が殺されています。
日本ザル。So in terms of health, they seem to be recovering, well, in numbers they are recovering. And now it's become a problem that they're going into farms and human habitat and causing a lot of damage. And 20,000 of them are culled every year.
ただ、スノーモンキーは非常に繁殖力が低いので、ですから個体数のコントロールっていうのは非常に慎重にしなければいけないので、それで2008年から 福島市の猿はすべて僕の研究室で検査をしています。繁殖の状態だとか健康状態だとか。
But since snow monkeys don't reproduce at a very high rate, we have to be very careful about what we're going to do with them, how we manage their reproduction. And since 2008, snow monkeys have all come into his laboratory and monitored.
で当然その結果をもとに毎年の捕獲計画を立ててで調整をしていくと、共存のために調整していくっていうことをやっています。
And according to the findings from that research, the plans, the numbers for culling are adjusted every year in order to maintain coexistence.
ですから私放射線の専門家では全くないので、実際に福島で2008年から検査をしていって11年に被爆をした。ですから当然それは貴重な研究材料でもありますので、そういう専門家の方に、ぜひ研究してほしいって言ってサンプルの提供を申し出たんですけど、今は人間猿どころではないと人間の研究の方が大事だということで取り合ってもらえませんでした。
So, of course, I'm not a specialist, a radiation specialist, but because I've been gathering data since 2008, remember the disaster took place in 2011, it seems obvious to me that this is very important research, and I've asked radiation specialists to take on this research, but they have never been willing to take this on because they say we don't have any resources, time to spare because humans are much more important.
そこで仕方がないので自分でもうやるしかないと思って続けているんですが、結局何も記録が残らないと事実がなかったことになってしまうので、ですから今後も記録としては残し続けたいなと思っています。
So I had to conclude that there was no choice but for me to take this on, even though I'm not a specialist, as I said, in radiation. And I felt that if we don't keep records, there will be no evidence, and it will be as if nothing had happened. So that's why I'm hoping to continue to do this research and create a record. So he's prepared, Mr. Hammer has prepared a few slides to refresh our memories, and this might help you formulate questions later. Would you like the lights off? Yes.
このように畑に出てきて作物を荒らすのでたくさんの猿が毎年殺されています。
I'm sorry, these are monkeys from whom culling, that are the populations that are culled from annually.
これは先ほど出てきたスライドで同じですけど、私たちの調査地はここの福島市になります。
We saw the slide in the film, but this is focusing on Fukushima City.
で、やはり健康なつまり被爆を受けてない猿と比較をする必要がありますので、東日本はかなり汚染が進んでしまいましたから、ここの青森、ここに下北半島というのなんですけど、ここの猿は全く被爆をしていませんので、こことの比較を行いました。
We need to obviously compare monkeys that have been exposed and those that haven't. It's hard to find a control population in eastern Japan, so we go all the way down to Tokyo. So we found a sample for comparison on the Shimokita Peninsula. That's the northernmost point with a circle on the map.
ちなみにこの下北は地球上で最北限の野生の猿の生息地です。
It is the northernmost spot on the earth where monkeys live in the wild.
でこれが血液検査の結果で、この号の第5作で詳しくお話しされると思いますけど、白血球、赤血球、そうか、ホワイトブラッドセル、レッドブラッドセル、ヘマトクリート、ヘモグロビン、ヘマトクリートで福島、下北、そして西日本の猿との比較です。
So this will be taken up in greater detail in episode 5, which we'll see this afternoon. But you can see that the comparison of white blood cells and red blood cells and hemoglobin and hematocrits with Fukushima monkeys on the left in the blue, and then immature and mature, and then the northern monkeys in the dark yellow, and the beige being the reference population from Western Japan.
でこれを見ると明らかに全ての血液成分が低下しているというのが分かります。それからこういった値は基本的に子どもの方が大人より高いんですけれども、福島では子どもの方がより減少しています。
What this chart, this graph shows is that there's clearly a depression of blood components in the Fukushima monkeys. Moreover, usually the immature, the juveniles show higher rates, but in the Fukushima cases, it's the mature monkeys that show somewhat more elevated levels.
でただ被曝量というのが正確に野生の動物はわからないんですが、これは子どもの猿、4歳以下の猿に限ってですけれども、体の中のセシウムの蓄積量とそれから白血球数が明確な負の相関が見られました。
It's very hard to measure dosage in animals. It's not so easy in humans either. But in any case, we can see with these monkeys 4 years younger that there is a correlation between white blood cell counts and the radiocesium concentrations in their muscles with the monkeys captured in Fukushima.
でこれと同じ現象はすでにチェルノブイリの子どもたちで報告されたものと同じです。
This actually is comparable to what's been reported with children of Chernobyl.
でつまり貧血状態になっているということが分かったわけですけども、ただ原因が何かということなんですが、例えば栄養失調ですとか、あるいはどこかの臓器が出血しているとか、そういう可能性も考えられます。
Well, what we realize now is that they are anemic. What is the cause, though? That is somewhat harder. It could be malnutrition. It could be bleeding from an internal organ.
しかしこれを見ていただきたいんですが、これは2012年から毎年現在まで検査を続けていますけれども、いまだに回復が見られないということで、一時的なものではなくて何か慢性的なものが原因だろうと、つまり被爆の影響というのを我々は考えました。
So, from looking at this chart, you can see we have taken these tests annually from here on 2012 through 2016, and the levels have not recovered. So we have to say that this is not an acute phenomenon. It has become chronic, and we would have to consider radiation exposure as a possible cause.
Control is Shimokiта monkeys.
Okay, the control, right? This is the northernmost monkeys.
でそこで、猿の骨髄の検査を続けてきましたけれども、これは顕微鏡で見た骨髄の組織を骨髄を形成している細胞の占める割合で評価したもので、これが多いほど血液を作る能力が高いと考えられています。
The image on the left shows a larger area of what are called hematopoietic cells. The more you have of those red colored cells, the healthier the capacity, the more vigorous capacity to produce blood cell components in bone marrow tissue.
でこれが骨髄の検査結果ですけれども、やはりこのコントロールと比較して明らかに血液を作る能力が低下をしています。しかも2014年にかけてどんどん減少する傾向が見られました。
So as you can see, compared with the control monkeys from the Shimoda Peninsula, the capacity to generate blood cell components has been depressed in the Fukushima monkeys. And in fact, we see a marked decline in 2014.
で放射線の影響によって骨髄が形成が抑制される、いわゆる血液を作る能力が低下するというのは広島以来よく知られたことなので、同じことが起こっているのではないかというふうに考えました。
This is a phenomenon that's been well documented since the Hiroshima atomic bombs. And therefore, once again, we would have to consider the possibility of radiation exposure.
それから今私たちが取り組んでいるのは次世代への影響です。
And right now, we are grappling with the issue of impact on the next generation.
広島、長崎でも被爆胎児で被爆した子どもたちが成長が悪くて体が小さくて生まれた、あるいは脳の発達が遅れて頭が小さく生まれた、こういうことが報告されているので、それをサルで調べてみました。
We know from the example of Hiroshima and Nagasaki again that embryos and fetuses exposed in utero resulted in a low birth weight and also in microcephaly where the brain failed to develop adequately and head size was small. So we are trying to confirm whether this also is happening with the monkeys in Fukushima.
でこれがその結果ですが、横軸が体の人間でいう身長にあたります。で身長に対して、体重の相対的な成長を見ていますけれども、青の三角がこれは被爆前で、赤の丸が被爆後に妊娠した猿の子どもたちです。
So here we are. The horizontal axis is the height of a monkey, and the vertical axis is the weight. And the blue line and blue triangles indicate monkeys who were born before the nuclear disaster, and the red following it, or during that time and after.
でこれを見て明らかなように、被爆後に妊娠した福島の猿の子どもでは体の大きさに対して体重が少ない、体の成長が、要するに痩せているということが、痩せて成長しているということが分かりました。
So we can see that the monkeys born from mothers who were exposed are showing low body weight in relation to their height. So they are smaller.
でそれからもう一つはこれ頭の大きさですが、これは脳の大きさを反映しています。これも明らかに体の大きさに対して赤の被爆後の方が成長が遅れていると、つまり頭の小さい子どもが生まれてしまっているということが分かりました。
This slide shows head size, and the size of the head, also a small head suggests a smaller brain, so we can also see here that monkeys born from monkeys exposed are showing signs of low brain weight and developmental issues, potentially developmental issues.
ですからこれまで広島、長崎で、知られたこと、あるいは動物実験でも知られたことが福島の猿で起こっているというふうに私たちは考えています。
And therefore, given that these are well documented post Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bombs, we are proceeding with a hypothesis that this is something to do with their radiation exposure in Fukushima as well.
Thank you for your attention.
I'd like to mention that Mr. Hayama's publications in English that you can read online are indicated in the program under the bio blurbs for each of our participants. So please go online. Every one of us can certainly understand the abstract at least and have this in mind when people tell us, as they will, that there is so far no health impact that can be observed. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience. Go have a delicious lunch. Please be timely so that we can get right into episode 5. We have very special guests and discussants for the afternoon session. So look forward to it. Thank you. I said in the beginning that I was going to get revenge on Yuki Miyamoto for trying to introduce me. You know, that superfluous University of Chicago double introduction. But actually, I'm so glad she gave me the opportunity for getting revenge because there's a perfect segue. It's studying Professor Hayama's slides that she understood what her mother was doing. Yuki's mother is a Hiroshima hibakusha who died 10 years ago, a little more? 2001. And Yuki remembers that she was always getting shots that were to increase her blood volume, to generate blood cell components. And it's watching his slides about what's happening to Fukushima monkeys that she suddenly grasped what her mother was trying to, or her doctors were trying to effect. So Yuki, my co-moderator, partner in crime and so many things, who's been with me on Atomic Age from the very beginning, will be helping us out actively again this afternoon. She got her degree at the Divinity School in the University of Chicago. She is an associate professor in the ethics department of the religious studies department at DePaul. And I can't point and speak at the same time, obviously. She wrote her dissertation and then a book on Nagasaki, but not just about the Nagasaki bomb. It's not her city or her bomb, so to speak. But she has taken up many issues around the ethics of industrial pollution. Along with radiation, she has taken a number of generations of American college students to Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and even Okinawa. It's her students who actually got former Mayor Richard Daley to join in to Mayors of Peace. So never say teaching has no impact. And with her permission, I want to say that she is what we call a second generation hibakusha. Very, very important to us just as fellow humans, and also very important to us in thinking about this history. She has been reluctant ever to say that for many years as a teacher in the American context. And I began to think that hibakusha are sometimes given a venue to present their experiences. So far, not second generation hibakusha so much, and actually second and third generation hibakusha in Japan are now getting together to reflect. I mean, it's not just constant, you always worry about your health, but the social consequences of growing up with parents or a parent who was a survivor of the atomic bombings. So Yuki keeps me honest in some ways and always has has contributed so much to our group of pursuing Fukushima. So I want to thank Yuki for everything she's doing today, and she will be helping me moderate in the afternoon. So she won't even stand up, but she will later. You can. Without further ado, let's go to episode 5, which 99.9% of us, including me, have not yet seen. It's just recently completed.